But let's have a conversation about how you approach the market, because that's what's important. And what you need to do is you need to understand at the end of the day, if you are not operating with what I like to call conviction, right here, you know what I'm saying? Conviction. Who do you trust? Yourself. Not Goldman Sachs' conviction buy list, not me, not Pete Najarian, not Jim Cramer, yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you lose money, it's your money. You don't get a bailout. So you need to make sure that you look at these markets properly. And where does that begin with? It begins with education, reading. I probably read on average 2,000 pages per week. The reason why I read is not so I could get ideas from other people, is so I could challenge myself on the ideas that I have and see, A, do too many people think what I think? B, is there something out there that's being written that is in complete opposite, contrary to what I believe, and makes me question myself and say, wait a second, take a step back. Instead of putting on 100% of that position, only put on 25%, only put on 40%. So the first thing that I encourage all of you to do is you must read. And when I say read, I don't know necessarily that I call reading the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal reading, or even Barron's to a certain extent. I mean really rolling up your sleeves, using Fidelity's website, using the research tools there, and understanding before you take action what you're actually getting involved in. That's number one. Now you've got the knowledge. The second thing, by show of hands, at the end of last year, how many of you wrote a plan for 2010 in terms of investment? Excellent, but not enough. Not enough. Sports fans here? Show of hands? Football fans? Okay, I'm 43 years old. New York Giants fan, loved the Giants in the 80s. But I'll tell you what, I sure respected the San Francisco 49ers. Bill Walsh. Everyone remember Bill Walsh? Okay. Bill Walsh, before each game, on Wednesday and Thursday of the week before the game started, would script out 20 plays, the first 20 plays, of what he wanted to do against the opponent. The game would begin. He would run the first 20 plays. No matter what the situation was, he would stick to the first 20 plays. Now, granted, he had Jerry Rice and he had Joe Montana, but I think time has told us that it turned out pretty well for Bill Walsh. And what I want you to do is I want you to have a written game plan that says, I have 3 positions. I have underweight, market weight, and overweight. And I'm going to trade and I'm going to invest accordingly around that. Because what tends to happen is the bell rings, the emotion kicks in, the commentary on CNBC comes on, Geithner gets up there, Bernanke gets up there. You get some analysts in the middle of the day on CNBC. And by the way, when the analysts in the middle of the day come on CNBC, understand one thing. They might not necessarily have skin in the game. Do you know what I mean by that? Okay? Does anyone ever see Karen Feinerman in the middle of the day on CNBC? No. No. Karen's actively managing money. So be cautious when you see that during the middle of the day. Because what the market does, and what's the market doing right now? The market is tempting all of us to deviate from the plan. It's tempting all of us. It's continually on a daily basis presenting a hyper-bearish press that says to you, don't invest, don't be involved, be scared. March 31st, the Federal Reserve isn't buying mortgage-backed securities anymore. The end of the world is coming. Armageddon is here. And yet, if we can turn on my Bloomberg, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good, right? Now, this is not 2009. This is the tortoise rally. This is the tortoise rally. It is not the hare. The speed at which we advanced in 2009, we will never see that again. We will not see that again. But what you need to have is a simplistic plan that you understand going in where it is you want to be. And I'm going to share at the end of this ideas of where I want to be and how I want to be invested. But you have to have the plan in place ahead of time. I'm going to share a story with you. I started back in this business, fortunately, and I say fortunately, back in 1990 in the New York Mercantile Exchange in the oil pits. So what happens? I get lucky, the first Gulf War. The reality of it is it was a phenomenal time to enter the business when you have that type of action going on in the Middle East. I'm on the phone to does anyone here know, show of hands, the name Paul Tudor Jones? A legend, right? I'm running the phone for Paul's office. January 9th, 1991. Does anyone remember that day? Okay, we're going to use the podium here for a second. January 9th, 1991. Secretary Baker in Geneva comes to the podium just like this and says the word, one word, that all of Wall Street did not want to hear. Anyone know what it is? Regrettably. Regrettably, he sat down with the Iraqis to negotiate them to leave Kuwait, came to the podium and said, regrettably. Okay, so where does simplicity come in? I'm going to tell you. That morning, I'm on the phone with Paul Tudor Jones' office, probably the biggest oil traders in the world at this time. 2 o'clock, Secretary Baker's press conference is scheduled from Geneva. About 12 o'clock, they shut my phone line down. They say to me, Joe, we're done for the day. I said, really? Now I'm sitting there saying to myself, I'm getting fired. What did I do wrong? And what I'm doing is, and if you can envision this on the old trading floors, the trading pit is kind of in the middle, and then they have all these phone banks. So you have all these long phone cords, and this is a true story. When it got real busy and someone was doing a lot of business, one of your competitors, and I swear this is true, would cut your phone cord. That is the truth. They would cut your phone cord. And we didn't have cellular phones back then. That's how competitive it is. So he tells me we're shutting down for the day. I said, okay. And I'm sitting there saying, who's he on the phone with? Because my phone bank is the only phone that doesn't have the cord pulled to the trading pit. Everyone's trading. It's busy. The price of oil is $34 at this time. Everyone else is active. So the announcement comes out at 2 o'clock. Oil goes up a whopping $3. If this would have happened now, it would have went up $20. But this is the world we live in now with electronic trading. The end of the day comes. I call up to Connecticut to check out with Mr. Jones's office, and I say, I have to ask you a question, sir. I said, is there something that I did wrong today? Is there something that I did that was offensive? I did not handle your business properly? He said, no, Joe. He said, there's one thing that you do wrong. And he said, I'm going to tell you why it is I got off the phone. He said, you look at everything as E equals MC squared. He said, that's not what Wall Street is about. What Wall Street is about is KISS. So I'm sitting there at the time, 23, 24 years old, saying to myself, okay, do I ask this god of commodities what he means by KISS? I say I'm going for it. I said, Mr. Jones, what do you mean by KISS? He said, keep it simple, stupid. If you do that the rest of your career on Wall Street, you'll be a survivor. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to have the MIT education. You don't need to have the business school education. You need to be a survivor on Wall Street. You need to have a simple plan. Keep it simple, stupid. He did not understand that day what was going to come out of the situation in Geneva. And most of those traders who were actively trading that day didn't either. But he had the discipline and he had the fortitude to hang up the phone and recognize, even though he's the biggest oil trader in the world, I don't understand, not for me, I'll take a pass. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. Everyone else stayed in the game and traded that day, and I will tell you that most people did not do well with that move in oil.